The crown hit the marble floor before anyone could stop it. Gold rang against stone, sharp and final, and every voice in the hall died at once. King Alaric stood frozen, his hand still half raised, as if the weight had slipped from him by accident. Guards stiffened. Courtiers gasped. The sound echoed like a decision already made. "Pick it up," the High Chancellor whispered, stepping closer. "Your Majesty, pick it up." Alaric did not move. His eyes were fixed on the far end of the hall where Lena stood, small and trembling. Her fingers clenched into the fabric of her plain dress. She had been brought in moments earlier, summoned without warning, accused without mercy. "I will not," Alaric said quietly. A murmur rippled through the room. The Chancellor's face tightened. "You are interrupting a royal judgment."
"No," Alaric replied.
"I am ending it." Lena shook her head, her voice barely audible. "Please don't do this for me." He finally looked at her, really looked, and the hall seemed to fade. "I am not doing this for you," he said softly. "I am doing this because I cannot be king if I pretend my heart does not exist." The Queen Mother rose from her seat, her cane striking the floor. "You will shame this throne for a common woman?" Lena flinched at the word. Alaric turned toward his mother. "She is not common to me." The Chancellor gestured sharply, and guards moved forward. "This is madness. She is accused of influencing the king, of weakening the crown." Alaric laughed once, a short, bitter sound. "The crown was weak long before she arrived." Silence followed. Alaric bent slowly, picked up the crown, and held it out in both hands. Not to his head, but toward the council. "I will sell it," he said. Gasps again, louder this time. "Sell? The crown?" The treasurer stammered. "That is not a thing that can be done." "It can," Alaric replied. "Everything has a price. You taught me that." Lena stepped forward despite herself. "Alaric, stop. I would rather leave than watch you destroy everything." He shook his head. "You already tried leaving. They brought you back in chains." Her eyes filled. "I knew what I was risking. And I know what I am losing," he said gently. "Sit with me in this truth." The Queen Mother's voice trembled, not with weakness but with fury. "If you do this, you are no longer my son." He met her gaze. "If being your son means abandoning the woman I love to save a symbol, then perhaps I was never your son at all." The Chancellor slammed his staff on the floor. "Enough. If the king insists on treason against his own crown, then let the people decide." "Good," Alaric said. "Let them hear it from me." That evening, the palace gates were thrown open. Torches lit the square. Citizens gathered, whispering, pointing. Lena stood beside Alaric on the balcony, her hands shaking so badly he had to steady them. "Don't speak," she whispered. "Let me go quietly." "I will not be quiet," he said. "Not anymore." He stepped forward. "My people," he began, his voice carrying. "Tonight, you see your king without his crown." A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. "I was raised to believe that a crown is heavier than love," he continued. "That duty must crush the heart. But I have learned something different." A man shouted, "You would abandon us for a woman?" Alaric nodded. "I would choose honesty over pretense. I would choose a kingdom built on truth rather than fear." Another voice rose. "What happens to us if you step down?" He paused, then answered plainly. "You will still wake. You will still work. You will still love. A crown does not feed you. People do." Lena whispered urgently, "They won't understand." "Some will," he said, "and that will be enough." He lifted the crown high so all could see. "This crown will be sold. The gold will return to the people. I will remain, not as king, but as a man who chose love." The square erupted. Anger, applause, disbelief all at once. Back inside the palace later, Lena sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. "I never asked for this." "I know," Alaric said, sitting beside her. "That is why it matters." Tears slipped down her face. "They will hate me. They will blame you," he agreed. "And then they will forget. People always do." She laughed weakly. You sound so certain. I am not, he admitted. I am terrified. She turned to him then. If you are afraid, why do this? Because every day without you felt like a lie, he said. And I am tired of ruling lies. She leaned into him, and for a moment the world was quiet. Outside, the council argued through the night, voices rising and falling like waves. Inside, Alaric held Lena and wondered who he would be when the crown was gone. He whispered, "If the world asks why I did this, what should I say?" She answered without hesitation. "Say you chose to be human. If you're already feeling the emotion of this story, stay with it. There's more to come, and your support, subscribing, liking, and sharing helps stories like this find their voice." The crown lay on the table nearby, catching the candlelight, silent and waiting, as if listening to a love strong enough to let it go. Continue. Morning arrived without ceremony.
No trumpets. No bowed heads.
Just pale light slipping through the tall windows and resting on the crown where it lay. Alaric woke before Lena and watched her breathe, slow and uneven, as if even sleep could not fully trust peace. Footsteps echoed outside the chamber. Firm. Official. "They're coming," Lena murmured without opening her eyes. "Yes," Alaric said. "They always do." The doors opened. The chancellor entered with 2 scribes and the treasurer. No guards this time. That alone said everything. "The council has reached a decision," the chancellor announced. Alaric rose, placing himself slightly in front of Lena without thinking. "Speak it." "The crown will be auctioned," the treasurer said. "Foreign houses have already sent envoys. The price will be historic." Lena's voice broke. "You're selling your soul to strangers." Alaric turned to her. "I'm returning it to myself." The chancellor cleared his throat. "Once the sale is complete, you will abdicate formally. You will leave the palace by sundown." "Understood," Alaric replied. There was a pause. Then the chancellor added quietly, "You could still stop this. The council would accept exile for her." Quietly, cleanly, Lena inhaled sharply. "I'll go," she said at once. "I'll disappear. Please." Alaric shook his head. "No more bargains that cost us everything." The chancellor studied him for a long moment. "You were raised better than this." "I was raised to obey," Alaric answered. "I learned to live on my own." By noon, the palace buzzed like a disturbed hive. Servants whispered. Courtiers avoided eye contact. Some bowed deeper than ever, as if respect might reverse time. Others turned away, disgust clear on their faces. Lena walked the corridors slowly, touching the walls. "I used to clean floors like these," she said softly. "I never imagined leaving this way." "You don't owe this place reverence," Alaric replied. She stopped near a window overlooking the city. "They're gathering again." Below, crowds filled the streets. Not angry now, curious, restless. Change always drew people like fire. When the auction began, it was nothing like the council had promised. It was not dignified. It was hungry. Men argued numbers like weapons. Each bid felt like a piece of Alaric's past being priced and peeled away. When the final offer was announced, a collective breath was held. "Sold," the treasurer declared. The sound of the gavel echoed louder than the crown ever had. That evening, Alaric stood before the mirror and removed the last symbol of office. A simple ring. He placed it beside the crown's empty stand. Lena watched from the doorway. "Do you regret it?" He considered the question honestly. "I regret that love had to fight power. I don't regret choosing you." Her eyes filled. "What if I fail you? What if love isn't enough?" He crossed the room and took her hands. "Then we fail together. That's still better than winning alone." At sundown, the gates opened again. This time, no torches, just silence. The Queen Mother waited at the bottom of the steps. Her back was straight, her expression carved from stone. "So," she said, "you are finished." "I am beginning," Alaric replied. She looked at Lena. "You have cost this kingdom dearly." Lena bowed her head. "I never asked to be chosen." The Queen Mother's voice softened despite herself. That may be the only reason you were. She turned away without another word. Outside the palace walls, the world felt strangely wide. Alaric inhaled deeply. I don't know where we'll sleep tonight. Lena smiled through tears. Anywhere without guards. They walked into the city hand in hand. Some people recognized him immediately. Others stared, uncertain. A child tugged at his sleeve. Are you the king? The boy asked. I was, Alaric answered. What are you now? He glanced at Lena, then back at the boy. I'm learning. They rented a small room above a baker's shop. The ceiling was low, the bed narrow. Lena laughed when they bumped elbows. So this is life after crowns, she teased. Alaric lay back, staring at the cracked plaster. It's louder. Messier. I like it. Later, voices rose from the street, arguments about the sale, about the future, about whether the former king was brave or foolish. Lena pressed closer to him. Do you hear that? They're still talking about you. They always will, he said, until something else distracts them. She traced circles on his chest. And when they forget, then we'll finally be free. As night deepened, doubt crept in despite his words. Alaric stared into the darkness. What if I've doomed them? What if I've abandoned responsibility? Lena was quiet for a long time. Then she said, You didn't abandon them. You trusted them. He closed his eyes. I hope they prove me right. Outside, the city breathed. Alive, uncertain, unchanged and yet completely different. If you're still here, still listening, it means this story has you. Don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have made the same choice? In the small room above the bakery, without crown or throne, a man and a woman lay awake, holding on to love like a promise neither of them fully understood yet, but both were willing to honor. Days passed, then weeks. The city slowly adjusted to the idea that the king now bought bread with coins like everyone else. At first, Alaric felt every stare like a question he was failing to answer. Some people bowed awkwardly before remembering they no longer had to. Others spat near his feet and muttered about betrayal. He accepted both without argument. One morning at the market, a merchant squinted at him and said, You walk like someone who used to give orders. Alaric smiled faintly. Old habits. And the woman? The merchant asked, nodding toward Lena. She looks like someone who knows the cost of survival. Lena met the man's gaze. Ido. The merchant nodded, satisfied. Then you'll be fine. That night, as they counted their remaining coins, Lena sighed. We have enough for a few more weeks. Alaric leaned back against the wall. I can work. She laughed softly. You don't even know how to bargain. I'm learning, he said. Slowly, painfully, he found work helping repair boats by the river. His hands blistered. His back ached. Each night he returned exhausted but strangely fulfilled. One evening, Lena cleaned his wounds and said quietly, You've changed. He winced as she wrapped a cloth around his palm. For better or worse? For real, she said. Rumors still followed them. Some nights, former courtiers appeared at the bakery door, pretending coincidence. One such night, the chancellor himself arrived. Older now, tired. They're struggling, the chancellor admitted. The council. Without you, they argue endlessly. Alaric folded his arms. That sounds like governance. They want you back, the chancellor said. Not as king, as advisor. Your voice still carries weight. Lena stiffened. And the price? The chancellor hesitated. You would need to distance yourself from distractions. Alaric didn't even look at Lena before answering. No. The chancellor nodded slowly. I thought you'd say that. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, history will argue about you for generations. Alaric replied evenly. History can argue with itself. After the door closed, Lena whispered, Did you ever imagine walking away so completely? Yes, he said, but not surviving it. She took his hand. You didn't just survive. You became someone else. One afternoon, unrest broke out near the square. People shouted about taxes, about foreign influence, about the crown sale. Alaric stood at the edge of the crowd, listening. A woman cried out, "The crown was sold, and we were told it was for us. Where is the gold?" Others echoed her anger. Lena tugged at Alaric's sleeve. "We shouldn't be here," but he stepped forward. "You deserve answers," he said loudly. The crowd turned. Recognition sparked. "You," someone shouted. "You sold us out." Alaric raised his hands.
No.
"I trusted you with the truth." The gold was distributed through the council. If it vanished, ask them why. A tense silence followed. Then the woman spoke again, quieter now. "Why did you really do it?" Alaric didn't hesitate. "Because ruling without love hollowed me out. And a hollow king cannot protect anyone." Murmurs spread, not agreement but understanding. They left before the crowd could turn again. That night, Lena confessed her fear. "One day they may come for you. For us." Alaric nodded. "I know. Do you ever wish we'd run farther?" "No," he said. "I want them to see what choosing love looks like, even when it's hard." Years later, the city barely remembered the scandal. Children knew the story only as a tale whispered by elders, of a king who chose a woman over power. Alaric and Lena lived simply. They argued. They laughed. They struggled. Sometimes, late at night, doubt still crept in. On one such night, Lena asked, "If you could go back, would you do it again?" Alaric took her face in his hands. "Every time, even knowing the cost." She smiled through tears. "Then it was worth it." Outside, bells rang, not for royalty but for a wedding. Life continued, indifferent to lost crowns. Alaric watched the sky and thought of the crown. Not with longing, but with relief. It no longer defined him. He whispered, "I sold a symbol." Lena replied, "And bought a life." If this story moved you, if it made you question power, love, and the choices that define us, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you sell everything for love? Because sometimes the greatest act of courage is not holding on to a crown, but letting it go.